Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome back. It's like for the portfolios change. It's like you talk about say for experience, and this the part right here. I think it will be part six of for what I'll be what I was talking about. It's like from previous to talk about. It's like from what was for pay for as well as for experience is that and as well as for backup plans and as well as a few other changes as well to be be aware of, and as well as to be concentrated on. But on your hand, they have right here is some examples right here. I wouldn't put together on the next page, but this right here is basically like any type of improvements that more likely be working on any type of resume or any to be used for a portfolio for a library. But this right here will be like a example right here, like which not very much change. Of course, I made right here, but then this right here will be like say top say for experience. So enough, I guess we could say enough with maybe talking about maybe from the past 15 years. I guess it's like for like any college degrees or anything like that would be mainly focused about for the future. So if any students that may wonder to where that I'm like, yeah, that back whenever you were about maybe 10, 11, 12, that you were maybe too young really to work, to get into any type of big business industry or anything like that. But at the same time, for like for higher level education, that said mentioned before about that these this right here would be a painting right here, which I don't know. I'm like anybody that may want to where yeah, you ought to include that maybe on like a on your home page on the portfolio is use one of these as like for your ID, which I'm like yeah that it looks about yeah like me. I'm like these right here will be the actual pictures from the school. The school actually took these pictures, so it's not like that the camera I have now where I can actually take my own pictures and include right there, like, yeah, also a picture of me with the American flag as well, but that I did not include in this collection here, in this collage, you say. But anyway, talk about right here for portfolios is that with any type of change that anybody like wonder to, or especially I that wonder that I'm like, yeah, it's sometimes it could be pretty frustrating, especially that if you're trying to get something done and then you're like anybody that may wonder to where that constantly that you are seeing changes that after you work on something after about maybe 2 hours and then there's going to be somebody else that's going to maybe recommend something to be changed, help improve for the review and as well as putting together a portfolio. So we're like Warren to where we may think that maybe per every 6 months or maybe every year that there's going to more likely be a change to where that yeah that a change to where where it's a little bit harder to remember a few of these changes because constantly the things are changing and maybe any type of improvements that are made. But then at the same time, I keep wanting to know that from where I started from the beginning is that thinking about a lot of the education that more likely that would be required for any type of job or careers as well is that may not be there either. So yeah, like a lot of this stuff right here from the past, but then when I go back, like another for the next page right here, as you see right here is I went and use this right here is like example right here of me, and I'm thinking that yeah, I probably must have been about at least 6 or 7 years old. So before I even knew what Windows 10 was, I'm like yeah, that a lot of those Windows programs that I'm sure that most of us are familiar with that you say top us here for job carriers, as most of us have seen you from the previous video about job carrier. And this right here, it basically shows us like what I explained right here is like a, right here is like for 15 years of using the computers like software and then managing the database as well as knows, understands about the community working with other clients and is willing to set the management for the team and for everything that we do that take anywhere we go. So when we look at the time management for like for job carrier, that we may think that yeah that I went ahead and made the worked right here on Illustrator, like I have right here as an example right here of a business card or some card, like some type of form of identification. So anything that pays off, for like anything for achieved is that for anything received is that anything based on education, for a portfolio. So anything that more likely that we want to put in our what you call our portfolio in the library that I'm like, yeah, maybe other than thinking about maybe if experience is not really there, then more likely we can also thinking about maybe the things that we're good at, what we're familiar with as well. But I have right here is like this key code right here, and I'm sure most of us are familiar with like the key code settings that yeah, that you may have seen it before. Maybe if your parents or somebody that may have been in a business region at some point, and you may have seen a briefcase or maybe a folder of a few documents or something like that. You didn't quite know what it was at the time. You didn't understand. But thinking about the future, I have right here, most of us can see right here for 2018, for the year 2018. So we're like warned to where how a lot of that stuff, the mail documents, and as well as the other source of communication, using the cell phone devices. And I'm like, yeah, that this your picture right here, I'm like, I would have been pretty young too. And here right here is an example right here of the train, which like trains. So like thinking about, yeah, the train will be carrying many letters of education as well as for portfolios, and about 300 or 400 pages or so of like for any jobs, job offerings, if it's going to be for careers reasons. So we wanted to where that put together this information, and like wanted to where that this Kiko right here is that while we're working on this, and we may have seen it before, but then thinking, we may be thinking about that, well, really, that if that's really about our case or not, because that we don't quite understand it. Well, that's if it makes it easier to where that if it's something that we got to do, because back when we were about maybe 7 or 10 years old, we may think that yeah, a letter in the mail from somebody, maybe a birthday card or something like that, was something meaningful. But then you're like thinking about, yeah, a bill, we may not want to do it, but then on your hand for like a job offer, that a lot of the stuff that we may need to do, just to take on a job, if it's going to be business card or maybe updates in a database or anything like that, anything that related to emails, postal notes, electronic postal notes or anything like that. So what is basically electronic, which I know I posted a video on my page, earlier, from a few weeks ago about that, about electronic stuff. It basically means is to where that yeah, that a lot of that stuff would require like an internet connection, as well as it would just you may need a few programs just to have access to it too, as well as your sign-in features. So yeah, I'm thinking about a lot of our information that's going online, but on the other hand, that I keep thinking, that with this right here will be like an example right here of like postal card, but then I like one to where yeah, postal card, this key code will be located about right here. So this right here will be my information right here to enter, to where if I would be looking for a job, and then this right here, this source of information that will provide about maybe over 50 pages or so of documentation about job carrier. So whenever we look back and thinking about the history about me, and then you're like Warren to where yeah, is it one is the access code key code you provided already by the experience, or did you have to create one? So I guess that goes by the question to where do you have to create this in order to have access, or is it provided? And I'm thinking though that sometimes that they may say it's provided to you by email, or if it's by note or something like that, there may be a separate directory, that a separate inbox that you may have to access to, just to be able to retrieve the information, just to sign in and just go through the other online settings as well. But anything that keeps us busy, really, it seems like that's what it's all about. It's like for portfolios, it's like something that keeps you busy, for finding a job, anything that you want to do, so far as careers goes. But anyway, but you have right there, it's like for portfolios, change to top, let's say for the experience, Miami 25. Thanks for watching.